Talks have resumed in Switzerland ahead of Tuesday's deadline for a preliminary nuclear deal with Iran. Foreign ministers from 6 world powers are meeting their Iranian counterpart, amid hopes of a breakthrough after almost 18 months of negotiations. They want to impose limits that would prevent Iran from producing enough fuel for a nuclear weapon within a year. Iran, which insists its nuclear program is peaceful, wants to see crippling sanctions lifted in return. Iranian and Western officials have said that a deal is possible, but that some issues are still to be resolved. No compromise. The negotiations in Lausanne were expected to intensify on Monday, with foreign ministers from the so-called P5+1, comprising the US, UK, France, China, Russia and Germany, meeting Iran's top diplomat, Mohammad Javad Zarif. The EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini is also there. They are aiming to agree on a political framework by Tuesday night that would set the stage for talks on the technical details of a comprehensive accord, due by June 30. "We are here because we believe a deal can be done," UK Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond told reporters as he arrived in Lausanne on Sunday night. "But it has to be a deal which puts the bomb beyond Iran's reach," he added. "There can't be any compromise about that." Mr. Zarif, who has been holding talks with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry since Thursday, said he believed they could make the necessary progress to be able to resolve all the issues and start writing them down. The BBC's Barbara Plett-Usher in Lausanne says the essence of the emerging deal is to keep Iran at least 1 year away from being able to produce enough nuclear fuel for a single weapon. Those restrictions would last at least a decade, and include rigorous inspections of its nuclear facilities, in exchange for an end to crippling sanctions, our correspondent adds. Western officials say there has been progress on proposals to reduce Iran's nuclear technology. But our correspondent says disagreements remain on how long Iran would be subject to constraints, and on the speed of sanctions relief. A Western diplomat told the AFP news agency that Iran had more or less agreed to reduce the number of centrifuges used to enrich uranium from 20,000 to 6,000. While enriched uranium. But the lead Iranian negotiator, Abbas Araqi, announced on Sunday that his country was no longer willing to ship its stockpile of enriched uranium abroad. Western officials insisted there were other ways of dealing with the stockpile, including blending it into a more diluted form, the New York Times reported. That could make enriching it to weapons grade far lengthier or perhaps even impossible, the officials said. Mr. Araqi said there also had to be a precise framework for the lifting of UN sanctions, as well as those imposed unilaterally by the US and EU. Iran also reportedly wants all limits on its nuclear activities to be lifted after 10 years, while the P5+1 wants them to be removed progressively over the following 5 years.